Hi there. Hey, I hope you are staying warm and healthy and surviving February. For those of you who really love winter, I just apologize right up front for how much I really hate it. Um, February can't be over fast enough for me, and I know that we'll still have snow through April, but there's just something about that landmark of March that does it for me every time. I know sometimes this time of year it's already we kind of feel like isolated because it's cold out and it's harder to get out and about and that kind of thing. And taking a class online can feel very isolating. So if you would, can you look at this resource with me for a second, the Student Lounge? If you are feeling like you just need a quick answer to a question or you just need a place to get a gauge on an assignment that you just need a little bit more confidence on, you can always write to me. That never bothers me. But feel free to use the Student Lounge discussion here too. And even if you have a funny story that you want to tell about a teaching experience or something that's maybe unrelated but you want to share out, this is a great way to share it out. Or if you found a great source midweek, absolutely tell us about it. Okay? So, all right, let's go ahead and find the syllabus. I'm really enjoying your posts. I have been trying to touch base with at least half of them every week, or every time we have a new discussion board. I would love to talk to all of you and discuss with all of you on your discussion boards. A little bigger class this time makes it a little bit more difficult for me. So thank you for being patient with that. If you ever feel like you need more feedback, absolutely give me a shout out. I don't mind that at all. We are moving right along. Like I said, we're hitting mid stride in February here. Ooh, got a little too crazy there with it. And we do have spring break in here, but because I know some of you will be working over spring break, I do want to talk um, through what's going on um, with at least the top of Unit 4, so then you can work on that. And I might go ahead and even talk through a little bit of the bottom of Unit 4. Before we do that, I need to pause this recording because I've got cookies in the oven. All right, they're ready. I wish I could send one to you. Not to make you wonder anything. I'll just tell you right now they're two different kinds of chocolate chips, caramel bits and pretzels. So they're chocolate covered caramel cookies. Not bad, right? I actually get to go tomorrow to do a blended learning workshop. Blended learning is sort of my passion that I've grown into. I started as a writing and reading teacher. Actually, I started as a choir director, but that's a whole other story. My degree is in communication, so like anything language arts was my thing. And in the last 7 or 8 years, I think I've told you already that I teach a lot online, and obviously I'm teaching this, but I'm really excited about blended learning and what it's doing and what it can do with our schools. So I'm actually working with a local school district and offering some professional development to them. Got lots of great fun ideas. If you ever want to take your writing ideas and make them more of a blended approach, and you want some resources there, I would love to help you with that. It's not really part of our course objective or our agenda, but I would love to give you resources because that's what I'm doing with them tomorrow. They're all bringing something and we're going to transform it. So we're always new teachers, right? We're always learning, and that's important that we keep that perspective. So, one of the reasons I like blended learning is because of this topic of feedback and communication. And a second part of that is reflection and peer feedback. I want to take a second here to define all of these topics before jumping in because it will make a difference in how you approach the assignments. Feedback and communication is obviously, I think that's probably the part of writing you've had experiences with. You've had instructors give you feedback and communicate with you about your writing, right? And a lot of you have already said that what made your writing experience successful or maybe not so hot had to do with how that feedback was handled. So there's a couple things we want to talk about when we talk about feedback. One, you already are really a sensitive group, and I love that. You're already thinking about things like, well, if a kid tells me the story about how their dog died, but it's full of grammar errors, I got to be careful not to chalk up all the errors, or maybe something more serious than that, obviously. we don't want to, we want to make sure that we validate students' ideas and their energy about their writing, but we also want to help them to be better writers. So how can we frame that? And the second thing, some of you already started talking about this in your discussion boards, and I think the thing that I'm excited about in hearing you is that a lot of you already see the value of timing of feedback. That if we wait till the end of the summative assessment or the end of the final paper to give our feedback, we've missed a lot of opportunities. And I'll also add that we've allowed for a lot of students to make some bad decisions with plagiarism and cheating. Because if we're not keeping a pulse on their writing as a process and giving them feedback along the way, then we are basically we're kind of hanging them out on their own little island to write on, and that sets students up to make decisions about their writing that may not be the most informed, or they may do something in a panic, right? Like cheat. So feedback and communication, the when and the how of it, is something we're going to be speaking about this unit. And then the second part is writing that they do, okay? Reflection and peer feedback are two different things. By reflection writing, I mean having students take time to actually write out what they were thinking about when they were writing. It's a way to engage students in their metacognition, or their thinking about their thinking, and we can learn so much from that, and we can watch aha moments happen, and it's a really awesome thing if you build it into part of your routine with your writers. I like to do it before a writing. I like to do it after a writing. I think it's okay to do it in between as well. Like, okay, stop here. So far, how do you feel about your writing process? It can be informal, and I've had students say, well, we'll just talk about it as a class, but we all know that some students don't feel as comfortable just talking about it. I really encourage you to have reflection be part of the writing process. I sometimes will take, I can share it with you. Kenna came up with a reflection tool that I use for even college students, but I've used for high school students as well. And I think it would work for younger as well, where they give me feedback on their paper, or reflection type questions about their writing, and grade themselves and some things like that. And it has let me into their writing in a way that I cannot describe. And it's a very simple list of questions, things like even how long did you spend writing this uninterrupted? What are the things were going on while you were writing? And I make it very clear to them that any of this is not a judgment, but that I'm helping them to write more efficiently and effectively, and I want to help them to get their writing time down to a reasonable amount of time. I often ask them what weaknesses or strengths, celebrations, struggles. I allow for them to recognize that what's going on in their personal lives can affect how well they're writing, and give them an opportunity to speak to that. I'll often have college students, for example, tell me, I really honestly threw this paper together. My roommate is going through a rough time. I had 3 exams this week, so I'm not really proud of this work, but you know what? That tells me a lot, because when I go to grade that paper, then I kind of know, all right, they already are recognizing that this is not their best work. I don't need to tell them it's not their best work. What I need to do is show them what did go right for them and direct them so that they can manage it for the next time and make it better. So these are things that I think of when I think of reflection. Peer feedback, or peer editing, as we often call it, is one of those things where I think all of us believe that it's good, but it's a hard thing to make happen in a good way in your classroom. And so we're going to talk about some tools for that, because it doesn't just happen, and I'm a firm believer that you really have to teach students how to give peer feedback. I still have a very vivid memory of my student teaching experience where I was going to have students do this, and my supervising teacher from back at the college just said, what about structuring this? And I'd never thought of it. I think I'd forgotten along the way that you can't just trade papers and grade them. You have to give them some sort of structure, some sort of expectation, some sort of guiding force, and you have to give them permission to be real evaluators. We all have had those evaluators that tell us, good job, and it doesn't really help, right? So how can we teach our students to really be effective peer editors? In all of this, if we take all of these parts on ourselves, for example, if I'm gonna make really great feedback and communication with my students. I'm going to help lead their reflective process. I'm going to give them feedback on their reflection. And you know what? I might have them do some peer editing, but they're not going to need it because they've got me. We've got two problems with that. One, your time. You're not going to have enough of you to go around. The second problem with that is that then it becomes all very teacher focused. And I'm not sure that that's the direction you want to head with your class. I think you want to build learners, not absorbers, not people who are the next person on um, the factory line. Okay, you need to fix this and this. Okay, got it. Boom, 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 boom. No, we want them to be thinkers, right? We want them to own their learning. So things to think about. What's going on this first week is that we've got a lot of reading, but again, this kind of spans a couple weeks. Not that you have to work over your spring break, but you can. We're back in the Outwell book. We're going to talk about responding to writers and reading and responding to readers and reading. We're going to watch a guest video. This is one that gets a lot of comments from my students. It's about interactive rubrics. It actually features a good friend of mine and a former teacher of my son's. She is young. She is a Bowling Green State University grad, and she does a phenomenal job managing her classroom, and I think you'll enjoy her take on that. In chapter 9 of Outwell, by the way, you don't have to go in the order. I think this is more my thought flow, but if you want to do all of Outwell's reading and then watch videos, that's totally fine with me. Valuing and evaluating. I love how she words that. This piece right here gives us a different type of way to think about instructing writing. It's talking about dictation technology and how some of our students may have trouble getting those thoughts to paper with their hands, but there's technologies out there that we can help them with. I'd like you to start exploring Rubistar, readwritethink.org, and any other resources that you already know of that give you ready-made rubrics for evaluating and anything that gives you ideas for feedback. You don't have to start from scratch and all this stuff. Speaking of interactive rubrics, that concept is also played out. I think this pairs really nicely. It sounds like I have like a wine and cheese thing going on here. Pairs really nicely with Bree's, the guest video from Brianna McCrae. This is kind of almost hand in glove with what she's talking about, just a little different spin on it. Reflective writing in the revision process. What were you thinking? It's a blog by Sandra Giles, and this is actually a link in the classroom. Sorry, it doesn't look blue here. You'll have to go to the classroom to pick that one up. And then from our turnitin.com people, they have a webcast, and this webcast talks about the writing process. They're really big advocates for writers. And then this is a writing across the curriculum article because we want to think of, a lot of you are not really teaching writing classes, but you're teaching classes where you're trying to incorporate writing. So that's what's going on in the reading. Lots of reading and video this week, or for these 2 weeks, this unit. The question this week for the discussion board, I know you can read it on your own, but let me kind of explain it too. Think about what type of feedback you value. We've talked about this a little bit. What do you want to experiment? What are some ways that you could possibly give feedback to students as you're instructing writing? I can think of a few creative approaches that I've tried and have worked, and it's kind of fun. What would you like that to look like? Is it going to be a side-by-side thing? What's it going to look like? Is it going to be a letter? Is it going to be a back-and-forth discussion? What are your experiences as a student editor or a student receiving peer editing? Share the good, bad, and ugly, and suggest fixes. So, like, if you have bad student peer edit experiences as a student, tell us how you would fix it. Or if you've seen it work, what made it work? It's kind of a longer discussion board this week. The blog says certain dynamics and personal preferences go into the design of rubric creation and record keeping in responding to writers and readers. Discuss what features and practices you envision using to respond and communicate with student writers. What's the right time in the writing process to give feedback? And for what's the right time for peer editing? What will this discussion look like for you and your students? Maybe map out what it's going to look like for every assignment. What do you envision? Is there going to be a routine for this kind of stuff? And then share one rubric source or idea that you liked. Just something general. Explain how you might use it and cite your sources. We're not working on Wiki for the first week, but for the second week, we're building in a reflection exercise, a peer editing exercise, and a grading rubric for each of the 4 assignments. Remember, these are formalized assignments, so you will need all 4 pieces to complete your wiki. First week, second week is replies, first week